Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of TVG Talk. Today we'll be discussing a few things regarding the recently announced Super Smash Bros. Things that we think we'll be seeing there, things that we don't think we'll be seeing. And so without further ado, today joining me is Lauro Chapa.
Hey guys.
And so, my name is Paco Treviño, let's begin. So Lauro, why don't we start with you? What do you think we'll be seeing in the brand new Super Smash Bros.?
Sure. First off, I think we're both on the same page. We think this is going to be largely a new game, right? Like, not really a port. What do you think?
Yeah, right. I think that we are in the same boat there.
Sure.
I don't think that it's a port at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well then my first prediction is actually going to be a big one. I think, like, probably many people don't think this, but I think that this Smash game, Smash 5, let's call it like that, is going to be the first Smash with a smaller roster than the last game. Smaller roster of characters.
Well, what you're saying is compared to the game with or without the DLC?
What, do you think this is going to have DLC? Or
no.
You're talking about last game's DLC?
No, I'm talking about the number. Do you think that it will be less characters compared to Smash Wii U with DLC or without DLC?
Probably both, actually.
Okay, so without DLC.
Sure.
I think that without DLC we were looking at about about 50 characters without DLC.
Mm-hmm,
so yeah, you were saying. You were saying about 45.
Yeah, 45, 40.
Okay, so that's actually a very bold, prediction. I think I wouldn't be surprised, but I do not think that'll be the case.
Okay.
The reason is actually one of my predictions, and that's that it'll be reusing the engine of the previous game, but not necessarily being a port, more akin to something like Splatoon 2, where we're talking about the same engine, but perhaps revised or something along those lines.
Okay, so do you think that maybe they'll like change some characters up, or like some new patches of the characters, or they'll even go as far as to change maybe some gravity properties or launch properties or something like that?
I do think that when it comes to the properties of the characters, we will be seeing some very big, some. I wouldn't even call them patches. I would call them from the ground up.
Sure.
And I wouldn't know about the models because I don't see them really being able to squeeze more polygons and more textures out of the already 1080p 60 frames per second Wii U experience, since the Switch is more powerful, but I don't think it's powerful enough to do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I mean, we will be seeing some remodeled characters, like Link, of course. But Mario, for example, I wouldn't be too surprised if he looks exactly like he did in the Wii U version.
Okay. You think maybe Mario is not gonna have his Odyssey powers or a moveset based on that?
I wouldn't be surprised if he does. And in fact, I do think that they'll be changing up a few things of all veterans in general. For example, Mario, I do think that they could incorporate Odyssey moves and even perhaps from other games. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Link, we of course know that he's changing physically. I also think that he's going to change like the design of his bombs, perhaps how he diffuses them, the boomerang, all of those things. I think that they will be changing to fit more in line with Breath of the Wild, similar to the change that we saw when he changed it to the Twilight Princess design. I definitely think that we'll be seeing changes of that caliber, but for example, Pikachu, Kirby, perhaps they'll be physically the same,
Sure.
and without many changes at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that you are onto something when it comes to the roster size.
Mhm.
But if I'm correct in thinking the reusing of the engine and the assets and perhaps stages, I do think that we could be seeing a more linear approach in terms of the roster.
Sure.
So, well, inadvertently, I've already used my first, my first, prediction. So I think that we are on back to you. What's your next prediction?
Sure. Yeah, my next prediction is gonna be a fairly common one, I think, and that is that the Smash 5 is going to have a newer or better single player experience. Maybe along the lines of the Subspace Emissary, or maybe along the lines of Smash Bros. Melee Adventure Mode. But I think that Smash 4 was widely loved. I think that few people had problems with the game. Like maybe towards the end, some of people want to nerf Bayonetta a bit, but not even comparable to how Brawl was. But the small thing that everybody mentioned is that maybe the single player experience wasn't all that fleshed out. So I think that they take that into consideration and have a proper adventure, or maybe even subspace mode. I think subspace not really much, like with cutscenes and all that. I kind of doubt it, but maybe an adventure mode, like moving stages and like you going through different games, scenarios and things like that.
I absolutely agree with you there. I do think that we are going to see something similar to Subspace Emissary. I would even be as bold as to think that Melee is short. Adventure mode on Melee, yeah. I don't think that we won't be seeing that. I think that we will have a narrative, and we will have a story mode, and in fact, I would be surprised if we didn't see that. And the reason that I say that is that, well, Sakurai said that he took it away because of the feedback, like, oh, so what you like is the cinematics. But now we are back to thinking, oh no, so you do want that, so perhaps something like that. And especially if they are reusing, like I think that they will, the engine, well, it would cut down development time quite a bit, so perhaps they have had the time to do all those cutscenes.
Yeah, they focus on that instead.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that it's time for my next prediction.
Sure, go ahead.
So, my next prediction is that we will be seeing the comeback of some modes that have been cut out from previous entries in the series. For example, Smash Run was not in Smash Wii U. The Break the Targets did not return to either of the Smash 4 entries. And I would think that we will be seeing it back.
Okay.
But I don't think that we'll be seeing what it was in 64 or Melee, where you had one for each character. Instead, I think that it'll be similar to Brawl, where you had Break the Targets, like levels 1 through 4, I believe. Okay. With varying degrees of difficulty. I think that we'll be seeing something like that.
Okay.
And I think that series staples like Event Match, Classic Mode, all of those things will absolutely be coming back. All-Star Mode. So yeah, I think that we'll be seeing galore in terms of modes, especially with how this is a more portable experience. I think that it would absolutely benefit from those bite-sized on-the-go experiences.
Sure, you're right. Yeah, I also think that too. I would like it better if the target game was like 64 or Melee, because I always thought that mode taught you really well all the moves of your character. Like, for example, Link would have maybe targets very far away, so you can shoot them or launch a bomb to it or something like that. and I thought the brawl ones were really generic and really didn't serve that purpose. So I would want them to be back as a melee or 64 ones. And I would also like the board on the platforms to be back. That was really fun.
Oh yeah, that and actually we haven't seen that since 64. Am I correct?
I think Billy had them, right?
Millie had them.
Not?
Okay then.
I don't remember actually.
Okay, so yeah, I absolutely agree with you on both things. I would love for board the platforms to return, and I agree with you that the break the targets on 64 and Millie were better, but we are looking at a roster potentially 2 times or 3 times as big as those.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that it's somewhat unrealistic, especially if they're going to be making levels for the Subspace Emissary sequel. I think that it's more realistic to think that we will be seeing tiers. Perhaps like maybe certain characters will share the levels and then others will have different ones, something like that.
Yeah,
perhaps. But yeah, I think it's somewhat unrealistic. However, if it's a wish list or something like that, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess it's your turn now.
Yeah. So seeing that you talked about different modes and that this has to be a stronger single player experience and whatnot, I have an idea for a mode too. So Smash Tour in the Wii U was like a cool idea. Like it wasn't actually that fun being in the map. What was fun was having the battles and also the end battle. So I want to focus on that end battle where you had different character stocks and you fought, and each stock was a different character. I think that a lot of people voiced their opinion on that was a great mode, great idea. Other fighting games kind of do that, like with team-based fighting games, like for example King of Fighters. It's not really a tag game. Each round is with a different character. So I think that they can add this mode properly to Smash. They can, like, even competitively, they could even pick this mode up. Like, sure, you pick three characters against the other guy's 3 characters and go out at it. I think it would be really fun.
I totally agree with you. I think that that kind of fighting system really benefits Super Smash Bros. Because it has a very large character roster, a very diverse one, and perhaps seeing something along the lines of what we see in a tag tournament or in Pokken, where you can pick 2 or 3 characters. Smash could even do like 5 or 7. I mean, really, the sky is the limit. And I wouldn't know if it's difficult on the, I don't know, the loading times or something like that. Like maybe the models would take long to load. I wouldn't know. But I absolutely agree with you. I think that would be a very, very fun mode. And I would assume a somewhat easy one to program, because we already saw it on the Wii U version. I will definitely like that. Like, pick your best 3 or your best 5 and battle. Absolutely. And actually, I think that something along the lines of Smash Tour would be fun if they gave it more time, because it felt very rushed, very simplistic. But you know, apparently Nintendo doesn't know how to do party board games like they used to, so maybe leave that be.
What's up with that?
Yeah, maybe let that be. So yeah, what other things do you think we'll be seeing apart from the modes that we've talked about? Is it safe to assume that we'll be looking at a single Joy-Con experience, for example?
Are there enough buttons? I think there are, right? Like, right here.
Yeah. Yeah, there are more than on the Wii Remote, for example.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
So I think that single Joy-Con is probably a given. Yeah.
Okay, and do you think that we'll be seeing something similar like we did for the Wii U version when it came to the gallery? Like being able to paint on the gamepad, well, in this case, the tablet? Do you think that we'll be seeing like a small creator studio thing?
Like for taking screenshots and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I'm asking is that Nintendo has been somewhat resilient when it comes to using the touchscreen. So,
Yeah.
do you think that... Okay.
So
Okay.
I really don't think that they would add like too much into that, because Nintendo has been taking away touch screen features from games, and I think they
very
wanna
conservative.
like move out of that some, but as for taking screenshots and making artistic things with it, I think they might add it. Like Mario Odyssey had it, and Breath of the Wild kinda has it too. So I don't see why not.
Right. Do you think that it'll be compatible with the video capture feature, the 30-second capture?
Yeah, most first-party games are compatible, right, or not?
Yeah, the only exception that I can think of is a technical example in the form of Mario Plus Rabbids. That one does not have that. Pokken Tournament took a very long time to include it. But other than that, I think that all, if not most, of the first parties have it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Sure.
why don't we talk briefly about the art style? Do you think that we'll be seeing an art style similar to the Wii U version, or do you think that it'll be taking a different approach?
I think it will be largely based on the art style of the Wii U. I think that there's little ways they could change that. Like the art style was loosely based on what they could do, like in terms of power and graphically. Like the 3DS had those like painted lines, so you can identify them okay on the 3DS, and Smash had like more of a, I don't want to say realistic look, but because it doesn't look really that much realistic, but compared to Mario Kart, maybe it does look more realistic. So yeah, I don't think that they will change it that much.
Yeah, I don't think you are wrong at all to say that it's more realistic, because when it comes to light effects, some bloom, shadows, wrinkles in the clothing, it's much more, well, realistic is the correct word, I'd say.
Sure.
Without mentioning how much more expressive the characters are, they look more alive. So yeah, I will agree with you. I do think that we'll be seeing a very similar approach in terms of art style, but given how the trailer is somewhat dark, I would see how some people think that it'll be perhaps it'll have a darker palette like Brawl had.
Maybe.
But no, I mean, yeah, it's possible, but I think that sort of design mentality has stepped aside for the more colorful and expressive approach that we see in most games these days.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have any other predictions or perhaps hopes to see in the upcoming game?
Sure, I'll throw another prediction. Like, seeing as you talked about some about Link, about how he's gonna maybe be based more of Breath of the Wild. I think actually all Zelda characters are gonna get reworked like that, like Ganondorf, Zelda, and Link, mainly. I don't know about Sheik or Toon Link, or if they are even gonna come back. But those main three, I think they're gonna change like vastly. Like they're gonna fundamentally, completely change them, how they work and how you think about using them. Like I mean, it's kind of weird that Ganondorf is still being based on the moveset of Captain Falcon. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
He has so many moves in his games, and we see him on Hyrule Warriors with different stuff and whatnot. So I think that there's a lot they could take from of the Legend of Zelda games to make a good Ganondorf moveset. And also Zelda 2. I think Zelda is kind of one of the few characters that had never been good, like in terms of competitively. And I think that maybe they're gonna try to focus now on these characters, seeing as Breath of the Wild is one of the most popular games on the Switch. And yeah, they have lots of lore and abilities they could take from these games.
Right. You know, as a Zelda fan, a huge Zelda fan, I will agree with you. What's up with Ganondorf's moveset?
Yeah.
I realized that on Melee he sort of had to, either he
Yeah, 'cause he was
had it
like-
or
he
he
was
was not
outside.
gonna be. Right. But yeah, like you said, Hyrule Warriors has been a very huge example of how to represent Ganondorf in an action game. And if I may say so, they've even added a few things that I think that now are complementary, like the design that they gave him. For many people, is the new definitive design of Ganondorf.
Yeah, that's right.
When it used to be the Twilight Princess one, like Brawl and Smash Wii U. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you that we will be seeing these huge revampings of characters. I think that Link will be tweaked to fit more online with Breath of the Wild,
Okay.
but only tweaked. Perhaps he will run faster, he will have the Sheikah Slate bombs or things like that. But I would absolutely want Zelda to be someone entirely different from the ground up. The moveset that she has is not technically hers, it's the gifts from Ocarina of Time, the goddesses' gifts. You know, the fire, all of those things. So I would love to see something that has to do with her. We've seen Zelda hold bows, throw light magic, all kinds of things. And if a Zelda has ever looked athletic, it's in Breath of the Wild. She looks much more athletic, and the clothing I think lends itself for a much faster and agile moveset. I wouldn't dare say something along the lines of Sheik, but absolutely more than the current Zelda.
Right.
And when it comes to Toon Link and Sheik, I don't think that they'll be cutting them. Let's assume that they won't.
Okay.
I think that they can stay as they are because they represent Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time. They don't have to evolve. They represent a very specific time for Zelda, and I think that's okay because the other three are the ones that evolve and change. So yeah, when it comes to those 5 characters, I do think that we will see revampings, as you were saying.
Yeah. Seeing as you said this about the other Link and whatnot, I've seen some people on the internet claiming that there might be a third Link, like Breath of the Wild Link may actually be a third one instead of replacing the Twilight Princess one. What do you think about this?
I absolutely think it's a possibility because you can do it. Link in Breath of the Wild is completely different in many areas.
Yeah.
He is much more agile. He is perhaps not as strong physically. I think the Twilight Princess made Link very strong. But he's much more agile and versatile, like the different weapons that he uses. I mean, if you really wanted to make him different, you could make him hold a staff, or a longsword, or, you know, or maybe even change between those, or the Sheikah Slate. I mean, you could do him entirely different, and still retain perhaps the spin attack, but maybe instead of being his up B, be his neutral B. Stuff like that. So yeah, I absolutely see it, but I can already imagine the negative feedback, like yet another Link instead of I don't know, Tingle or Revali or Darunia, you know, classic characters. So they definitely can do it, and it would be very, very fun to see it. But I think that they might be fearing the negative feedback that could come with that.
Sure.
So what do you think? Do you think that they could be doing that?
I wouldn't predict it, but I think there will be a good idea. Like, my prediction is that they're gonna completely change Link. So, like, Breath of the Wild Link is gonna be like completely different, like without a hook shot or a claw shot. I don't know which one is it. Maybe even without the spin attack. Like, yeah, I'm predicting that they'll take all new things from Breath of the Wild. But I do think it would be a neat idea to have another one instead.
Yeah, it's very interesting because they really could go in any direction, right?
Yeah.
And it would make sense in some areas, and in others it would be a shame. Like, it's weird because Link is a staple of the series. He's been in all the games, and he has changed very little. In fact, I think that he has been one of the least changing characters out of all the veterans.
Yeah.
So it would be very interesting to see how they're going to approach it. I mean, I absolutely think that they had to include Breath of the Wild, because it's a very, very influential game, in terms of the perception of Zelda in the mainstream. So they absolutely had to include it. But now the problem is, how are they going to include it, and how will people respond? I would like, however, to see if he does replace entirely the previous Link. I would like him to have his green tunic from Breath of the Wild still. You know, the green tunic of the Wild. I think that he has to have it, so you could be in like denial, like, no, it's still the same Link,
Sure.
even if he's completely different. Okay, so what other prediction do you have? I know that you we spend a lot of time discussing these kind of things outside of this channel. So,
yeah,
what else do you think we might be seeing?
I really can't think of anything else.
Okay, so perhaps that's it for now.
Sure.
Well, rest assured, as things move along in terms of announcements, we will be back talking about more predictions and more things that we want to see, don't want to see. And in fact, very soon we will be having a video talking about our predictions, but about the characters that could be either returning, not returning, coming for the first time to the series. So make sure to stay and watch all that content that we will be uploading. For now, this has been Paco Treviño, and today I was joined by Lauro Chapa.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening. Until next time, bye bye, guys.